Yud Ches. So we got to the next drush. And it says, Yavor be'inyan tzitzis, Makusher ima, tied to what we've already been talking about, Makusher ima more. So it says, we'll read the Rav first, and we'll read the Tiv. Zavar ata inyan tzitzis. So now let's talk about the inyan tzitzis. So that's what they are. They are oros that come from the mochin that we've been talking about as they are coming into Zir Anpen. We know there's a switch. We went through all of that. So or makif, but it's the secret of the or makif hayotzmin or hapanimi that's coming out, shooting out, I guess, from the light that is on the inside of the mochin. In other words, the mochin are in the inside, derek saros zer anpen, and they go out through the hairs of zer anpen. Keniska the el v'drasha mekodmin be'inyan tzitzis. I really forgot a lot of this already, so hopefully we'll see it again. Kisodu or makif, because the secret of the tzitzis is the or makif. B'kol masha echdach be'inyan the tzitzis v'drash zeh. So everything that I write when we're talking about tzitzis in this drush, or makif. It's always talking about an or makif because that's what the tzitzis are. So don't be concerned, I guess, don't make a mistake, because we're just kind of generally speaking talking about it. But Tamhu, the reason why, he called Mashiyet b'mochin and b'nimim, because everything that you see in regards to the mochin that are inside, who mamish kach b'mochin or hamakif. It's the same thing, I think. I'm not sure what he means here. But the mochin and or machim, Derek has arrows, but that refers to light that actually comes backwards or out through the hair itself as their anpin. Derek has arrows besod tzitzis kenitzka la'el. So let's come down and let's look at what the Tiv has to say on this subject, and starting over here in the light print. So he says, Va'ata Rav as kavanas of tzitzis, the chud. Now, so we're just going to talk about the kavanas and the tzitzis, not about the talis or anything else, below hatalis. So he says, Sha'or ha-tzitzis heim oros ha-yotzim min ha-mochim and niskarim shekosvam, shebo v'nikdasu b'zah. So the mochim come into Zir Anpin, and then this is a light that comes from those mochin that are inside, they shine outwards. So it's like what we learned way back in the Otzos Chaim. Maybe it's the light of Chaya, the Chaya goes in, something like that, but it can't stay, and then it comes right back out. Bor hatzitzis heim orus hapim makifim hayotza min hamochin habenimim. So it says it again. V'yitzias ha'orus shel tzitzis hu derek ha'orus shel zah. So once again, same statement. B'sham bir Rav as so the mochim shel tzitzis, and then over there, he says that Rav gives an explanation about what's going on in the tzitzis. Because of shakol so the tzitzis hu min ha'orus makifim. Once again, the whole concept here is understanding that these are orus makifim. V'kol masha yizboyer b'drush shel l'fanenu. So everything that we're going to get into in this fourth drush now, be'inyan the tzitzis. This is all a makif for Yotze Derek Hasa'aros. So I think this was repeated several times. So I'm starting to remember a little bit. Don't think that there's another explanation. The Rav says this is it. Even though it doesn't say specifically any place that we're dealing with an or makif. Rav kosid b'stamos as a gavana, so you're just saying, generally speaking, what's going on with it without further elucidation. But it's really always talking about this. This is an or makif. So what is the reason why it does not specifically say that we're talking about the or hamakif? Eluhu rak kosev stam, but it only is written like, say, it just generally stated. It doesn't say the word makif with it. Just like all of the inyanim that we're talking about, the oros that come inside of Zeranpin are inside of Zeranpin. So the same thing is a concept I think he means that if the lights are going into Zer Anpin, they're also coming out of Zer Anpin. It's the same lights or same aspect or some aspect of different aspects of that same light. They come out through the hairs of Zer Anpin. I think there's one more. There's a number Yud Gimel and Yitzchav Shalamochen Oros and Makifim, so that as they're coming out, the actual action of coming out, these Mochen Oros and Makifim Biyotzin Derekas Aros Haim So that Tzitzios. This is the secret. Now that light that's coming from there is the secret of Tzitzis. He calls it Tzitzios. Let's look up at the top now, because now we come back to another little. It's nice of him to break this up like this. He says, Ubo Yuvor, so in this little piece we say, Inyan of techelet v'holovan. Let's talk about those two. V'chatzitz shel Kohen Gadol, and also the tzitz, which goes around the top of the head of the Kohen Gadol. So he says, number Yud Dalet. He says, so we're up at the top. B'daki shnei mini tzitzios heim. There are two different kinds of tzitzis. So one refers to the techelet, and the other one refers to white. Rotzalomer will just say like this: Keep his man Beis Mikdash Kayim at the time of the Beis Mikdash, and apparently that at this time there was no techelet where people are using techelet now. He says Keep his man Beis Mikdash Kayim Hayachut techelet im halavan. Then you had these two. You had one thread of techelet along with the white strings. But now we have only white. So what's pshat? Why would you have blue then and only techelet then and only white now? So we went through the mochin, how they come into Zer Anpin, and what there are 32 mochin, and where they go, and how they switch, and so on and so forth. We went through that. So we're talking about the mochin that really come from the side of Abba. The Abba, the mochin mitzad Ima, or the mochin that come from the Imadika side. I'm in the mochin the mitzad Abba, but we say like this: the mochin that come from Abba. Ain't lono ata esek bechem. So we're really not dealing with the mochin that come from the side of Abba. The feet, why? Because that light that comes out of the side of Abba, who's so that sits. It's really the concept of this band that goes around the Kohen Gadol wore around his head. Shall Kohen Gadol shehum mochin the Abba, which that particular aspect comes from the mochin the Abba. Of Nikrut Tzitz. So that's the reason why it sits, and he says that Tzitz is Lashon Techura. It's male. So, according to what I just heard him say, I believe that he was saying that we're only dealing with the Oros Makifim of Ima. So let's look here at number Yodalit. In a light print, he says, Hine Yeshne Mini Tzitzios. There are two different types of tzitzis. Hamin ha'echad hu tzitzis hatzivua b'techeles. So the first one is the tzitzis which are dyed with the color techeles. V'hamin ha'sheni hu tzitzis levana. So no problem. V'habir b'zehu, he says, b'zman shebehoye beis hamikdash, az zachina d'shnei aminin shebetzitzis. Then we were zeicha to these two different types of tzitzis. Shehem chut techeles im chut halavan, which is the techeles which goes along, of course, with the lavan. But now, az ein lana techeles, so we don't put on techeles. He said we don't have techeles, which is okay. Anyway, he's translating the Rav. So therefore, since we don't have that, so therefore they're only white. So what's the reason for this? So he says, Hazah, mekabel shnei mini mochim. So he says, and what? V'hina be'inyan the mochin shechazacha mekabel b'tzad Abba. Atach of his man is that shenechra v'bai is the base of Mikdash is destroyed. Ain lano esek behem. We have really we don't deal with that. Kevin shacha orcha yotzechem in the mochin the b'tzad Abba, because the light that comes out from those mochin who sewed hatzitz, that's the light that really produces the concept of the tzitz, shalavish kohen gadol, which is part of the garments of the kohen gadol. Shuhu choyim or choser. This is actually, where did it come out from? It's an or choser hayotza min amokhin shemakabel mitzad abba. So we're talking about apparently or choser in any case. One is from Ima, one is from Abba, but we don't deal with the Abba because it deals with the tzitz. We want to deal with the tzitzit. For the chen hu nikrit tzitz daika, so therefore it's called specifically tzitz. Shul lashon zachar. Kevin shul b'mina or yotze b'mochin the Abba. So since it's a light that comes from the mochin of Abba, shul dechur, which is male. Shem kagama tzitz nikra b'shmo zu shul lashon zachar. So therefore tzitz is going to be male because it's coming from the side of Abba, from the mochin of Abba inside of Zer Anpin, which comes out at that point and produces this concept of tzitz. Avachat tzitz is he min ha'or ha'yotzim ha'mochin of etzad ima. Okay, so that's where we got to. That was, we're reading up above. And the up above says, let me just see where we're holding time-wise. Okay. Od biurim be'inyan tzitz v'tzitzis. Now let's talk about it some more, he says. Aval tzitzis he mimochin de'ima. They really come from the mochin de'ima. V'lechein nikrut tzitzis. So therefore it's called tzitzis. This is lashon nekeva. 1 second. Lashon nekeva. V'zecha b'tam shetzitz shel kohen gadol cho yinasan l'malo min tefillin. And this is the reason why the tzitz that are worn by the Kohen Gadol are up above where we put on the tefillin. So the tefillin's one place is apparently higher than that. So he said, excuse me, and then below the matznefes, he said, and below the matznefes, met is the hat. Because the tefillin also represent mochin de'ima. So he's saying basically that the tzitz is going to be on the highest level because it comes from Abba. And the rest comes from Ima. That's what he says. So I don't know this word mefutach. It sounds like the word paseach, but it's mefutach. Apparently it's carved or opened up in some way. I don't know. Al tzitz kodesh laHashem. So you have this phrase kodesh laHashem. Why that phrase? Kamosha yadato. So he said, because you should know this. You know this. Should call kodesh hu ba'aba. Every time we use the word kodesh, which we say, of course, this interesting. Now looking at the kedusha that we say every day, which goes with the concept of kodesh. It's the Thai oros or Thai, Thai nimin. It has three different words that incidentally on that, which eludes me, but at any rate, Thai nimim, which is the word kadosh, hu ba'aba. So all of that is with Abba besod kadosh li called bechor, I guess, sanctified for me, or make this word kadosh. Bechor is lashon zachar. But noted he called kedusha he besod the mochin. So every time we had this concept of kedusha, what he's talking about the mochin. Now I'm trying to think just without reading anymore. It's just what side of the mochin, because the mochin are bringing a higher level of consciousness, the consciousness of kedusha into a person. But Barat be'evan the mochin, the Abba, be'elu mochin, the Abba, and specifically these mochin that we're talking about in Abba. Begam b'masho daticha, but also something else that I let you know. Be'idri Rabba, be'inyan Taf Alfe Ribo Almim, where we talk about over there the 4,000, 10,000 of worlds that is Pashtach, Mechivura, the Reisha, the Erikanpin, which ultimately these 4,000, Lashon Kadosh, again, maybe it's something like that, he said would come from the white of the hair of Erikanpin. Ki Abba hu Chavaya the Ab the Yudin. Now let's look like this. He says Abba is the Chavaya the Ab of Yudin. Abod Dalad Yudin. So he's going to go through one of these internal, what I call, I'm trying to get the right phrase for it, gematries, to show you how things work. So the inner working over here, he says, Havaya the Abda Yudin, Abod Dalad Yudin. So in that Havaya, there are 4 Yuds. We call Yud Kalula Mekuf. So each one of them, each one of the Yudin, can be made into 10 times 10. Who sewed Kuf Shin. This is the concept of the Kuf and the Shin. I'm not sure exactly where the Shin came from in there, but let's say Kuf and Shin. V'im Hadala Yudin themselves, take them themselves, you have the word Kadosh. V'hi or HaMochin the Abba, and this refers to the more of the light of the Mochin of Abba, which Bokeh B'shnei Tzadich Aznayim B'Metzach, which breaks out from the 2 sides of the head, I guess, of the ears, the 2 sides with the ears on each side, that comes out from that place of a metzach, and also the forehead. So he says, "Is the or ha'chochma v'chesed mitzad yamin." So we said that it's coming out of 2 ears, one on the right, one on the left. Or b'bina mitzad small, and then you have a b'gvur and a gavina on the left side. B'hoya oros, and then you see that the oros are mispashtim b'kol metzach. They spread from there through the entire metzach. So I'm going to say like this. This is my opinion. This is Rabbi Chaim Vital. Ki Shem B'Chavaya Kosuv Boza, the name of Avaya which is written there. Hoyagam came al derek. That was the same thing. So what does he mean? You have a Yud K Vav K. It's a Yud K mitzad zeh, Vav K mitzad zeh. V'amnan ani mesupa b'masha shematim b'morizal. But I'm getting into this like a vague waters over here for me. I don't really remember exactly what my rabbi said. If the tzitz they come out from the mochin the abba who al derek tefillin v'hayotz in the mochin the ima, it's the same kind of concept of what we have in the tefillin, which is coming out from the mochin the ima over there. So maybe we're the same thing with these mochin. So in the same way, there was also this aspect of tzitzios. Yotzim in mochin the abba that come out from the mochin the abba kamosha yotzim gam kain tzitzios b'mochin the ima. The same thing that you have then is the same the tzitzios that come from the mochin the ima. O im the ember the mochin the abba loch b'choya yotzim rock orus tzitz levad, or maybe that's only what comes out of the tzitz. He says, I just don't remember if it's our iyun, and therefore we really need to look at it a little bit more. Now this was 17 minutes. Okay, so we probably have something like that. Let's stop that here, and we'll come back to the Tivakavanos on this little piece right here. Starting at Kaf Vav. Let me see. Start here, and we're going to say this is going to be the 18th day of Elul. All right. Now, let's come over here to the Sifra Tzniuta.